Hey listeners, you're listening to the Midnight Readers podcast. Grab some tea, a midnight snack, and cuddle up in bed as we dive deep into today's most popular fantasies, sci-fi, and mysteries. We're your hosts. I'm Lily.
I'm Brittany.
And I'm Christy.
This season we'll be discussing the heart-pounding military fantasy that's part Hunger Games and part How to Train Your Dragon. That's right, grab your flight jacket, we're headed to Beskayeth.
A dragon without its rider is a tragedy. A reader without their book, or this podcast, is dead. Welcome to the revolution. My best advice, don't die, and don't worry, we most likely won't need our allies.
In this episode, we'll be discussing Onyx Storm, chapters 23 through 27, where Violet and Xaden retrieve her dad's written works and save Halden, aka Basket Bitch, from his own stupidity.
Before we get into it, this is your warning for major spoilers ahead. This includes potentially all Empyrean series materials. We're also avid fans of the Moss universe and might accidentally let spoilers slip for other popular romantasy book series as well. Sorry in advance, like the books, this podcast is rated R, so be warned.
Also, a friendly reminder to please like, subscribe, and follow. You can find us on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and YouTube. You can also join our growing community on Patreon for bonus content and more. Stick around till the end to hear a special shout out for the Patreon members.
Alright, so last we left off, Quest Squad, now under the command of Violet, consists of Xaden, Mira, Riddick, Dane, Halden, his personal guard, Captain Anna Windshire, and Kat and Drake Cordella. Fun times. And they have just arrived in Deverelli. Halden has a meeting with the king set for 3 p.m., and Violet and the others are headed to a bookstore. Before we get into that, though, I wanted to touch on something. Of course, I was surfing the interwebs this weekend, looking for theories to talk about. And I ran across this theory about something that happened in chapter 21. And, when they were landing in Corden, they had, I have this theory that the original hatching grounds all might potentially have a ward stone.
Okay.
Well, Corden is the nearby city that the blue dragon's original hatching grounds lie nearby. And there's this quote, sort of quote, and it reads, Mira pauses at the base of the white steps, looking down at the black pillar barely visible in the level below us through the open staircase. Like last time, it has quite a crowd milling around it. Everything in the city is white.
Yeah.
And there's this one random black pillar. So this black pillar, it's the only black thing in Corden that I've noticed. And it could be either a ward stone that hasn't been activated. Maybe it doesn't have runes on it yet. Or maybe it's the black stone that the Venin were using to activate the wyvern.
Oh, interesting.
I just think this black pillar is very suspicious. And I'm a little sad I didn't pick up on it, but somebody else on the internet did.
I didn't notice it at all.
I didn't either. But I think this is where the wyvern are coming from, or at least one of these isles. There's just too much of, there's no magic here, or shit like that. That blatantly there's fucking magic somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It would explain why they aren't going after Corden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's interesting. I get the feeling that the no magic here is just impossible. I don't know how that could be.
Well, we do learn some of the names of the isles, but I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all the names. We have Deverelli, the Isle of No Gods. They don't believe in gods.
Mm-hmm.
Unbriel, the Isle of Dune. Loisum, from the Goddess of Love. I am not trying to pronounce her name. Zelna from Zanal. Hedotus from Hedion. And there are 13, I think it's 13, unnamed minor isles. It's interesting that there are only 5 isles that have names. There are 6 gods, and one of those isles that has a name is a no-god isle.
Right.
What about Amara and Malik? Where are their isles?
Yeah. You would think that they would have isles named after them, but I guess it also depends on the people who live there, you know?
True. But anyway, let's talk about Deverelli. We landed there last section, but we finally get to see some of the cities. We get to see the marketplace. What did y'all think?
It sounds so pretty. It sounds so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like a classic, I don't know, it sounds very Mediterranean. You know what I mean? Like it sounds quite sunny, beachy, hot, lovely.
Yeah.
They have dolphins.
I pictured Greece or something.
Oh yeah. I did too. I definitely pictured something similar. And I love that they have to ride horses around, which gives me like Spain vibes, like Spain, you know, Spanish horses or Morocco or something like that. I don't know. Love it.
The structures are all made out of stone.
I noted that immediately, which I was like, what stone though?
And who was the guy, Eric Smith or whoever, that built Basquiat?
Norris.
Eric Smith.
Norris. But that specifically notes him. So I don't know. It seems very strange that stone and stone and stone, and then that specific mention of. I have no idea where I'm going with this, but it feels like somewhere.
Well, I find it interesting that the entire place is made out of stone, and they have weapons to fight against dragons. And
no dragons.
As we learn in Iron Flame, half palace, half home, but entirely fortress, the thick stone walls that are what saved Ryerson House from its supposed demise 6 years ago. Because stone doesn't burn.
Right.
Now, my thing is Navarre has taken up this entire policy of don't leave the borders. We'll protect our space, but we're not leaving. We're not going out and venturing past our wards.
Yeah.
So they were allies at one point, the Isle Kingdoms and Navarre. It seems inconceivable to me that the dragons would leave the wards and go attack these isles when there's nothing to be gained there. There's no magic. They are weakened there. Why would the dragons go there?
So why have the means to protect themselves against dragons if there's no dragons that will go there? That's a good catch. I didn't actually sadly think of that.
Yeah. But and they call the riders firebringers, but
so somebody brought the fire before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what other creature do we know that breathes fire?
Wyvern?
I think it's
Wyvern.
I think it's the wyvern, and they are confusing it with the dragons. Just the way that Navarre would be like, no, it's the blue fire dragons.
I don't necessarily think it's the wyvern. I think that it could still be Navarrian dragons. I think it could still be, I could see Navarre trying to bully these isles. You know what I mean? And using their dragons to do so.
Yeah, but I don't know. It caught me. Cortland, I think it's Cortland, says, kill the riders because that's the only way to kill their mounts. We know that the griffins work that way, but the wyverns also work that way. Right.
Well, okay, so Courtney is a moron.
Courtney.
One, he doesn't even fucking understand how to kill the dragons. But then add to that, he is a terrible fucking namer. If you're going to have majestic animals, then fucking learn how to name them.
You don't
Shira, Shora, Shayna.
I mean, my God, is this like a Sesame Street name them? Like, I don't know. That was so annoying.
Okay. I loved him.
I read that in the notes and I was like, well, damn, I wonder what she felt about us naming ours Coco, Callie, and Cleo.
But see, those are beautiful names. But it felt like they were stretching.
I definitely think that Shira, Shayna, Shora is kind of ridiculous. I'm with you on that. However, I thought he was super fun and interesting. I was like, he's a pirate. I kind of like him.
I also knew a Shayna, so,
And yeah, Shayna, I mean, come on, let's go Valley. Like, Shayna, oh my God. Courtney?
Shayna.
Like, no, yeah. It felt like we were back at Zodiac.
Shayna, get Violet and her boyfriend Zayden. Oh my God, Shayna. Attack. Shayna, attack.
Exactly.
well,
Oh my God.
back to Deverelli.
Anyways,
The island.
we haven't even got there yet.
I
but-
know, right? So it's magicless, and the colors are all muted. All the people are wearing pale clothing, although they did say that there were some vibrant colors.
Right.
And then all the guards and stuff wear white,
Mm-hmm.
Virgins, okay.
and they don't worship any gods, which I found interesting.
And heathens, apparently.
What?
Okay.
What'd
She
you
said
say?
virgins, and I said, and heathens.
Virgins and heathens, yes.
And they
blind-
do worship their king. Is their king, because he seems like the type that would not want you to worship any gods and just worship him.
Other than the not worshiping any gods, Deverelli kind of reminded me of capitalism.
I mean, to me, it was less capitalism and more like a market society. Not really capitalism as in like they're exploiting others, because they're honest about it. Capitalism is not honest about
That's
exploiting
true.
others.
It's true.
Except for he kidnaps. He's not capitalist. He doesn't purchase. He's like, I'm going to keep you. Okay.
Okay, but Halden fucking asked for that shit.
He did.
Play by the rules.
Okay, he did.
But
And
They
that was
could
really
have played
funny.
by the rules. He tried to give them a stolen item. And so the guy was like, you're not even being respectful to me. So why would I respect you? I don't think that was the wrong thing to do. I'm kind of on his side here.
And then when Violet is telling him about it, they were like, the part that reminded me of capitalism was they only respect rich, wealthy, status, secrets, anything that can be traded.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I said, they remind me of pirates a lot.
Which,
Yes.
I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but pirates are mentioned
Oh, love that.
Courtney has
the
family.
in the bookstore. In the bookstore, when she's talking to Dane, she says, "Oh, remember back when
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
it was when you were obsessed with the tactics of the Emerald Sea Pirates?"
Yeah, I remember now.
Which makes me wonder, are we going to see pirates?
Yes.
Interesting. You know what? That's interesting to me because I felt like this book felt very Aelin coded, or Violet feels very Aelin coded in this book. And so the fact that we're getting a lot of mini adventures and maybe pirates, it's very similar.
Pirates! But it made me wonder, like, what if they did have to go to the Emerald Sea and there were pirates and Dane had to save them because he knew their tactics, because he studied them?
Yes, of course.
What if Dane
Little bit
becomes
of-
a pirate?
Dane?
Oh my
Yep.
god. Ain't
Dane
no way.
the rule follower?
Not anymore, he's not. It's Dane. Fuck the rules now.
I think Dane was still shocked by what they find out in the rare book dealer shop. So I don't know if he's quite unburdened from his innocence.
Are you talking about ending up with Violet?
Well, yeah, that Asher kind of planned on that. And then also the fact that his dad, knew some things that clearly made them not be friends anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
That seemed to really bother him.
Well, since you went ahead and brought it up,
Sorry.
I cannot not laugh my ass off. I try every time, hold my breath. I am Mira in that instance. When Narelle's like, I guess you look like the way Asher described you. Dane
She's like,
ate
I
toast.
guess your eyes are brown.
And it's just like silent. And it's just like, I die laughing. I can't hold it in. It is one of the best moments in this whole book. whole series.
I didn't think it was that funny. I cringed really hard on behalf of all of them. And then I was like, ooh. And then in the audiobook, when Mira starts laughing, that's when I laughed. Because she did it really well in the audiobook.
Well, if I cannot find it. I saw an interview. I'm pretty sure. I did not dream this. Pretty sure. But I saw an interview, and I can't find it again, where Rebecca Yarros said that she woke up at 3 a.m. to write that scene.
Oh my god.
And I was like, yeah.
And Xaden and Dane were getting along so normally.
They were.
Then, what's her name? Narelle. She's like, I guess you look like that. Totally ruined the whole mood. Xaden goes back to being an asshole. He's like, there you are. Welcome back.
They're destined to be best friends. I feel like it's a whole other like Seth and Orion.
I could see that.
But
I
did love that when they were on the horses and Xaden was just like, yeah, what was it like growing up? Not really, he didn't ask that, but
yeah,
he was being nice and they were all like,
is he okay?
Is he infected? Like, did an alien take over his body? What is going on?
It was like silent, like, hello?
And Mira's like, or maybe he just loves Violet and he's nice to her.
Yeah, I love Mira.
And
yeah,
Drake's whole, do y'all get nicknames? Because if you did, Killjoy would be yours.
I kind of have to be honest. He hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mira. Yeah, he's kind of right. He's fun.
All right. So after visiting a merchant shop, Xaden and Dane ask about where they can find Narelle. They find it's an antique bookstore. And so they go in, ask, and immediately they're attacked by these people who don't have weapons, supposedly, in their society.
Lies.
Yeah.
always lies.
And of course,
Big fat lie.
they kick their butts because they're writers.
Right.
And 93-year-old Narelle comes down and is like, "You're Asher's daughter. Here are some questions for you.
If you can answer my riddles 3, I will give you access to the 6 books he left you."
Yes.
Like a troll under a bridge. And
Right?
everything.
Exactly.
Except for I have a feeling that Asher only left her with 2 questions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Because when she was like, so how did you leave the prince?
Why did you leave them? Like,
I was like,
what
she
happened?
came for the tea? She came for the hot goss?
Like even Violet was like, I can tell what genre she reads.
Yeah. It was funny.
It was. But the main question was what was brokered between
Right.
Krovla and this unnamed isle that we don't know which one. And Violet says dragons. They wanted dragons.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. Except for the fact that dragons don't have their magic on these isles.
Right. Now, okay, this is such a little thing to be griping about, but the way that Yaros describes that bookshop is literally so hot that Violet's like, what the heck, it's sweltering in here? And then I'm sitting here like, and you're selling rare books in that humid, hot ass, not in a million chances. If someone was a rare books dealer and they knew what they had on their hands and they knew what they were doing, that thing would be cold storage, 60 degrees in there, year round. Ain't no way.
What if they don't have cold storage or the
Then they shouldn't
ability
be
to
having
make
those rare
it?
books.
Well,
Then those rare books would be disintegrated.
Well, they put spaces in the back of them for airflow.
Yeah, that's not enough. That's not enough. As someone who works in archives, I literally just took a whole course on it. That would not work.
Nice.
I know Rachel gets it.
Well, my thing is Violet uses her logic to say that they were after Feathertails.
Right.
My thing is, were they after Feathertails because they knew that they were babies? Because before this, nobody knew that they were babies. It was a shock to Violet and Xaden and everybody else.
Right.
And there was
So,
very little known about feathertails except for the fact that they would not bond.
so with your theory that you think that it's actually wyvern that they recognize, or wyvern, I'm sorry, I always say that differently. You think possibly that the reason they're looking for feathertails is because they could make them into a wyvern?
No, I think that their lore have been, we were attacked by these fire-breathing flying creatures, and they're mistaking them as dragons. But I also wonder, because at the beginning of Fourth Wing, Violet says, "Feathertail dragons are the breed we know the least about. This is because feathertails reportedly abhor violence and are not suitable for bonding. Though this scholar cannot be certain, as one has never left the Vale within my lifetime." They thought that they were a breed like Daggertail or Scorpiontail.
Right.
So why were they after a specific breed?
I think that somebody before, like when they're talking about the war before, I think they knew what feathertails were. And I think some section of the Six, some section of society, something protects them and got them out. And I think Andarna was kind of part of that whole thing. So I actually think that they did know what they were and they erased it from history. They tried to erase the information. So anyways, I feel like that a section of society from there understood that they were babies and they know what they are. And I think we've got a section that is trying to protect them from Navarre.
That's an interesting thought. If they did know that they were babies, do you think that they knew that they had special powers too?
Yes. I think they knew everything. I think at some point dragons and humans maybe were a lot more open and honest with each other. And something happened to fuck that up.
Yeah.
Humans were humans.
I could definitely see a
Humans
world where
were
at one
humans.
point... Yeah, I could definitely see a world where at one point feathertails were known to humanity and people understood what they could do, and just the reason it changed is because people exploited them.
Mm-hmm.
I could 100% see that as a reality. And honestly, as much as I enjoy Cortland's character, I definitely could see an Isle like Deverelli wanting to exploit feathertails, and what they have. I mean, as we'll see at the end of this section, he clearly knows some things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Well, I wonder if anything will come about with this, because they did make such a big deal about the Crovlin Second Uprising.
mhm.
And I wonder who in the world had the balls to promise dragons. But
I know, right? Yeah.
Could that have been the straw that made them get the feathertails out of there? Somebody promising dragons and the dragons found out?
I don't know.
It was after I think it's 400 years after the wards came up and that the dragons all are at Besgaiath and potentially hiding their selves in the Vale. But, I mean, that is a possibility because the Paromish knew about feathertails at that point, obviously.
Yeah.
All right. So, after the bookstore, we are on 6 alert. She does get 6 tomes
Right?
from Narelle. All of them passcode locked.
Which I was like, are you fucking serious, Asher? Are you so fucking serious right now, sir?
Yeah.
Passcode locked?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I get it, but like, come on. Ugh.
Well, everybody goes back to Takaris' house. Violet's had a hard day. She's soaking in the tub. Xaden comes in, and he's like, "Violet, darling, there's no magic on this isle. There's no magic on this isle."
Stop. Okay, before
Oh my
we start
God.
talking about fun, sexy time, can I rewind it for a second?
Sure.
Because the opening of chapter 25, there's a quote that I thought was interesting, sad, but interesting. And I'm just going to read it real quick. It is, "The most useless word in the language of aristocracy has always been and will forever be love. Marriage is a necessary evil to secure the line, nothing more. Save love for your children." And this is a confiscated correspondence from Finn Ryerson to unknown intended recipient.
Yeah.
I think it was intended for Xaden.
Yeah. It was probably about the betrothal he made with
Kat.
With Kat.
I think so too. And I think, as we know from previous books, he did not want to be betrothed to her. And this shit makes me sad.
It also makes me weary of Finn.
Yeah, same. Like, that's what I was thinking.
No wonder his wife left.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well,
like,
but that may have been in response to his wife leaving.
Could be.
Yeah.
That could be a defense mechanism that has developed after what happened between him and his wife leaving. And either way, it made me really sad because it made me wonder the relationship that Finn had with Xaden.
Yeah. I mean, Xaden seems to really love his dad, so I think that their relationship was good.
Yeah.
But this...
Well, you can admire your dad and appreciate your dad, but still have a complicated relationship.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. I think, personally, that Finn and Xaden had a really good relationship. Maybe a little, militaristic, harsh kind of...
Yeah.
I'm in charge and you should go into the infantry like I did because that's the way things are done kind of dad. Yeah. But I do think that Finn loved his son. I didn't
think... Okay, that wasn't not what I was implying.
Well, no, I'm not saying that you were, sorry.
Just want to make that clear that, like, I still think I don't think he's a bad person. It just makes me wonder about the relationship that they had when he was alive.
Sad.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that he could love Xaden and be a good father while also being a not so great person. I don't know. This makes me...
Yeah, that's true too. This
makes me wonder about how he treated his wife. And you're right, it could be in response to his wife leaving. But that was also a contract marriage.
I mean, if she ran off...
Yeah.
But she left your kid.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, I don't know. We don't have enough answers to make speculation. Maybe Brittany does, but I don't have enough answers to make speculation. Which, might I remind you that now we have listeners listening who know the fuckery that Brittany plays, so...
Oh, God. Hopefully they listen to season 1 and the torture she fucking put us through.
I know.
I was so fucking stressed.
Oh my God. So
the game master, the puppet master watching us flail in our theories.
Right?
I'm just trying to steer y'all in certain directions.
You're evil, Brittany.
I am a tour guide.
No.
Tour guide, she says.
Mm-hmm.
A tour guide.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Giggling insanity.
We can get back to fun, sexy times.
Okay. I was a little disappointed that Xaden did not join her in the bath. I would have been disappointed too.
Agreed.
Why did he have to go to Riddick's room?
I agree. How dare he? Come on now.
But I will say, I love the line, I am done being polite.
You know, it didn't do it for me. But you know what I recognized in this book? I have recognized that maybe Xaden is not my cup of tea because he's a little bit too much like me. In the sense that he was very pushy about marriage and he's a little jealous.
What do you mean?
And, you know?
What do you mean he's pushy about marriage? He only mentions it once.
He's mentioned it twice now, I swear.
He made a comment where they were like, oh, with that speech that she made to the writers, you could be aristocracy. And he said, oh, a duchess at least.
Yeah.
And
he's just having fun.
And he's already said that he feels that they are in-game and that the word boyfriend is not permanent enough. It doesn't...
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. I'm not saying he's pushy in a bad way. I'm just saying he knows what he wants and he's being very, very clear about it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I was reading it and I was like, that kind of reminds me of myself. I don't like that. That and the jealousy part. I'm also a very jealous person or partner. So I was like, maybe that's why he just doesn't do it for me.
He's got a notebook somewhere with Violet's name and little hearts on it.
See, yes, that's me.
I wonder what
relatable.
Nothing wrong with
about
that.
Me.
As your work wife, I feel like it translates well.
Especially since I was like, he's like me.
I mean that in the lightest way possible. You know what I mean? He is a fictional character.
If it makes you feel better, I don't know what age they're allowed to get married, but writers are allowed to get married right after graduation. Apparently, the other quadrants have to wait longer, which is weird. But or at least that's the way it was implied in Fourth Wing. So
I remember.
Xaden's probably like, he's
like chop chop.
Well, he's like, I'm dying and I need to know.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
But anyway, they end up breaking a table during their sexy times.
Without lightning.
Without anything, yes. Without shadows, lightning. And because they can't talk into each other's mind, they're like, let's talk this out in real, time. And, I just think it's funny. I was like, I wonder what Takaris was going to say when he found out that they broke his table, his furniture.
Poor little Tic
Tac. I was shocked. Yeah. I love that Riddick and the whole crew come up to the fucking door and are like, hello?
I love that it starts off as like Riddick knocking and then I think
Kat says something.
Yeah, it says something. And then Dane and then Mira's like, everybody get out! And they're all like, why are they at our door?
Yeah.
Xaden's like, you're ruining my one evening. I've waited 6 weeks to screw this girl. Come on!
I did feel kind of bad for them, not gonna lie.
Poor Mira.
Oh god, Mira learning about the armoire.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Can you imagine being their sibling? Crazy.
And Riddick like, what, were we not supposed to notice? Oh. Again, Riddick speaking for the audience.
100%.
How did nobody notice?
Yeah.
But anyway, we learn that Cortland has decided to keep Halden because Halden's an idiot. And he'll only see aristocracy, so it has to be Xaden who goes. And Violet goes with him, and he declares her his consort in order to get her access.
I love how she's like, should I be offended? Should I be pleased? I felt the same way. Yeah. I was like, yeah, girl, I don't know.
And then Taryn and his are congratulations or commiserations in order. But I mean, while I think this is absolutely 100% what he wants, I mean, it had to happen in order to get her in. So.
Yeah, I get that.
Total strategy there.
Yeah.
Halden. He is such a walking red flag. I can't stand the boy.
I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
This has completely ruined all sense of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
He is a dinkus.
Yeah.
A dinkus is the most polite term you could call him. Basket bitch, useless piece of shit, not even good at his only job. Come
Literally, he is there to get Quest Squad onto the island. And at the end of this, he says, we don't want to have anything to do with your fucking island. And
like,
I'm just like, you're ruining the entire mission. This is the reason you're here. Why?
Well, because he's being prideful.
Yeah. You took advantage of us. You made trades knowing that we were desperate. That's what capitalism is, honey.
I don't even think, I'm going to be honest, I don't even think I believed him when he said that, because I wouldn't believe a word out of his mouth at that point.
Yeah.
I think he's an idiot, though. I think he probably hears what his father tells him, and then he just repeats it. I don't actually think he has anything going on upstairs.
Yeah.
I can see that, yeah. That's true. But here's a 6 watch again. When Anna Windshire was caught in the vaults, she had 6 treasures stolen on her person.
It's giving 7 Horcruxes.
Yeah.
the six different Horcruxes they had to find. But yeah, I thought, so this is a really fun scene, I have to be honest. I really enjoyed Cortland. I really enjoy everything that happens. I love when he brings out the panthers. I was like, oh, panthers. No big deal.
Except for the brain food.
beautiful
Except
white.
for
That part,
Right.
I was a little like, oh, okay.
I was like, oh, he's gonna. Oh, okay. I feel bad for Anna. And Halden, you're the fucking dumbass that let this happen.
Yeah.
He
Oh
didn't
my
care.
god. I think he cared because of what was happening to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the only way that it affected him.
Mhm.
And Cortland does stab Halden in the hand. And,
Iconic, honestly.
Yeah. And I think Xaden goes to take it out, and Cortland says, "Do it for him, and any chances of us striking a deal is off." He sets down his goblet. I need to know you can uphold your end of a bargain even when it's unpleasant to do so, just as your father did. What bargain did his father make with Cortland?
That, I didn't even catch it. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah. There's so much going on in these scenes that you're like, if you just dissect every other word.
Yeah.
Were they the
could
ones
fly
that
right
tipped
by.
off? Is it Poramil? And then they slaughtered all those people?
So Krovla made a deal through Deverelli with another isle, but that was in the year 400 something. We're in the year 600 something. So that was 200 years ago.
Okay. Well, then I don't have a point.
There's two things that I thought was interesting that caught my eye in this scene. The first thing is that Violet's role in this scene, it starts off being the advisor to Xaden, which she starts off telling him the cultural customs, how they communicate. She ends up being like, this is how you should handle the confrontation. They respect, direct communication, stuff like that. I think that's super important for future roles she might play.
Yeah.
I mean, she obviously is really good at brokering a deal. We've seen her do it multiple times now.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was Cortland gets upset with Halden for trying to give away a dagger that wasn't his.
Yep. He says
So-
normally possession equals ownership.
Right.
But
right.
in this case.
But he calls him a thief. And my thought was, how does he know that?
So this is Jim Watch. We have the dagger that he tried to trade, which was the Blade of Erasia. It
Right.
is silver with emeralds studded into the hilt.
Right.
The Sword of Tyrandor, which Xaden almost
Offers.
offers before
Mhm.
Violet stops him, looks almost exactly the same.
Right.
And in one of her interviews, Rebecca Yarros said that there will be a sibling betrayal at some point in the book.
What the fuck did I say? What did I say? I don't trust Brennan.
Right? Right, Brent, exactly.
I hope it's not Brennan.
And so
But-
there have been a lot of theories with people trying to make a secret brother for Xaden.
Bodhi.
But
that
it's
is one of the
more
theories.
likely. It's more likely Arik and Halden.
That's what I'm hoping for.
How is that betrayal, though? We already know Halden's a jackass.
Yeah.
So that's not really betrayal. That's just living up to what we already know he is.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know.
But the reason I bring this up now is because one of the theories is that Cortland, who is young, dark-haired, dark-eyed, might be a half or whole brother of Xaden's. And that's how he recognized the sword, or the Blade of Erasia.
That would be kind of crazy, though, because you would think that Xaden would have recognized him in some way.
Not if he didn't know him.
But, well, how would Cortland know the Sword of Erasia or the Dagger of Erasia if he didn't even know Xaden?
Capitalism. He may have come across it before.
I
Maybe-
don't know. It doesn't seem to add up.
I don't agree with it. I don't think that Cortland is in any way related to Xaden. But people were like, oh, well, he has kind of the same features, but maybe it's his mother's child who, once she left Xaden, she told him all about his younger brother and whatever. So that's,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a theory that's out there. I don't agree with it. I don't think that Xaden has any secret brothers out there that are people like Cortland or Bodhi or Garrick is another one that is theorized, but we'll get
It
more
could be
on-
a sibling that we haven't met yet. What if Riddick has a sibling?
Could be.
I did see an interview with Rebecca Yarros as well, saying that she only kills people who we know, like, they're perfect, and that, they've gone through their whole... Liam was the perfect writer. He was the perfect brother, the perfect guardian of Violet, the perfect friend. And
Like they have nothing else to offer in a way.
And the fact that she hasn't, and this was very specifically mentioned by Rebecca, the fact that she has not offered Riddick's backstory yet means he's safe. Because he's not perfect. So,
Yeah, I think Riddick is important as an option.
should we know his backstory? I don't know if I want to know. Let him be safe.
I'm scared now.
I do.
I'm kind of scared now. I think I've been keeping an eye out for Riddick for like things that I should notice, and I still have no idea what we don't know about him. But I'm waiting. I am waiting.
It would be funny. I will eat my words, but if somebody that we know turns out to be Xaden's secret brother, I will eat my words. But I don't think it's happening. I think people are trying too hard with that one.
Yeah.
But
I guess I figured that Cortland recognized the blade because of the emeralds, and I figured you could leave it at that. But I don't know. Maybe he's somebody's secret brother.
he's also a dealer of antiquities, so
Yeah. That's what I
Yeah.
was thinking. He's seen it before.
or he knows about it.
Yeah.
in some
But
way.
the only reason I say that doesn't play a factor, and the reason I question it further, is because why would he say it's thievery? Because why would he consider that specifically theft, as opposed to, I mean, it's brought up later that he has a bunch of relics that apparently Halden thinks is, in possession of their royalty. So it just makes me wonder what happened that we don't know that he knows.
That's a good point. Although the way I read it was Cortland was using Cortland, or as Christy says, Courtney logic, where he was like, well, you already proved to me that you are a thief. And so you're offering me somebody else's dagger. I'm going to say that that's thievery too. But,
Okay, well,
but I like your thought better. Maybe he does know. Maybe there's something else behind the loss of that dagger.
Yeah. I
don't
felt
know.
like it was personal. Like he knew whoever it was that he took it from, and it was a personal thing.
Either way, Halden's a piece of shit and he sucks at his job, and he doesn't know how to fucking talk to anybody without pissing them off.
Right.
No, he doesn't. One of my favorite quotes from this, though, is Cortland asks Xaden where his loyalties lie, and he responds, "My loyalty is to Violet first and above everything, everyone else, then Tyrandor, then Navarre in the moments it's worthy."
Yeah.
Which I knew he was going to say that, but fuck yeah.
Yeah. Usually when Violet's in residence.
Yeah, that's funny as fuck.
Yeah. I was like,
And that's why we love him.
swoon.
Yeah, love that.
And I want to bring up here that Violet, whenever the guards, Cortland, like, Halden has his little tantrum where he's like, no, you can't make a deal with Xaden. You can only make a deal with me. And Cortland's like, I'm over this, so guards kill them all.
Whatever, kill him.
And Violet says, Death and I are old friends.
Yeah.
And I was just like, because Malik favors her? I mean...
I don't know, maybe. We have yet to see Malik very much.
Yeah. Xaden, unfortunately, channels. She had to bring...
So blown.
I loved it.
Oh my god.
He's losing his soul.
So they
Just
say.
a tiny bit, but he lit those fucking soldiers up like it was Christmas Eve.
Oh my god, just a tiny
Just
bit.
a tiny bit. It's just a little tiny bit of his soul that he lost. It's fine.
I don't know. Every time he channels, I get more distraught because I feel like in Iron Flame, I had so much anxiety, and in this one, I have so little anxiety, and that's freaking me out. You know what I mean? Like, if something hasn't hit the fan yet, I'm really scared for what's going to happen. I'm so nervous.
This is his third time.
I know, it's too many times, Brittany.
How many
Too many
times
times.
before Jack turned ASOM? That we know of, 3 times.
Shut up.
I mean, he did some big pulls, not the little ones that Zayden.
He was also a willing participant too. And I think for pretty much every other Venom, it was something that they wanted. They made a choice to do it. And for Zayden, he didn't, at least not in the way that he was going after the power. So I have to feel like that's going to make a difference in the end.
I hope you're right.
Same. I really hope so too.
I think the coolest thing about this, now at first I didn't know what was happening when he channeled. I was like, surely he didn't just channel. Surely he just figured out a way around it, or he had some level of magic left or something. I was very disappointed when I realized what had happened. But I think this opens up a couple of things. One, that we know that they can take magic from the alloy, which I think is interesting. I think that could be an indicator for future things. And then 2, Violet immediately stepping in and being a total badass and taking charge of the whole situation. I thought it was one of the best scenes in the book, personally. I'm a little shocked it went so well. I will say that.
Diplomacy given at the end of a dagger.
Yeah, but I thought it was so well done. She like grabs Zayden's face and is like, here's what we're going to do. She's like, don't make eye contact. Leave. I will handle this. See you in a week. And I was like, wow, I cannot believe she just did that. I was so impressed.
My question was, does Cortland know that he channeled without magic? Or does he think that they've just been keeping the fact that they have their powers still secret?
I don't know. I feel like I think he channeled magic. I think there's magic there.
Well, I mean, his eyes were red. He channeled from the alloy. She brought it out and she was like, it's got this weird hum, but it doesn't have any magic in it, so why does it got this weird hum? That's weird. And because all their magic, the dragon's magic, the alloy should have disappeared once they got to the island.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's interesting that despite the fact that it was supposed to disappear, it was still there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Enough for him to channel.
Yep.
That is interesting. It's like what we were talking about with the runes, that certain runes seem to work, or they might work. I don't know. I think that Cortland, if he doesn't know, I think it's possible he could have conceived that Zayden was using regular magic because he sees Violet with her dragons and Violet's communicating with her dragons. And so it's possible that he might not know at all about the Venom or Zayden channeling.
Yeah. I think it's possible that he doesn't know, but it also makes me wonder, is he going to hold, if he does know, is he going to hold this against?
Yeah.
But Zayden does use his shadows, which is his signet power. So
Right.
he could very well just think that he's able to use his signet.
That's why I was so confused at first. I was like, how did he just use his shadows? Because I was really hoping it wasn't him channeling.
Well, I was going to say, going back to what y'all were saying before with the magic, with the fact that blatantly they had dragons that came there before, which means the dragons had to have their powers. That doesn't make sense otherwise. And so is it so much that they don't have magic there, or that they've got something blocking most magic?
Yeah.
Or did the Venom, as Violet kind of implied, come and drain all the magic?
Right. Because of all, or that's what seems to be implied with the fact that everything looks dull, right?
Oh, yeah.
the fact that the colors aren't bright.
But
And
then in drain magic, it doesn't go to like a grayish white.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Yep.
So
but
what if
I'm
they
wondering
do?
if over time.
Yeah, I mean, what if they do know or do have something blocking the magic there?
I think that's a good theory.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you think about it like the ward stone, because with the ward stone, they kind of etched off a little bit and then they were able to let the flyers use their magic.
Yep.
And that was just a minor piece. So if they have something like a ward stone blocking magic, if it only takes a little bit to just shave it off, then why wouldn't they be able to use a tiny bit of magic? I don't know.
Mhm.
I think that's a possibility. I also think it's possible that, as Brittany has said before, there's different types of magic. And so if you're pulling from a magic that is not connected to the dragons from the sky or from the earth or something like that, maybe it's possible they could channel magic that way.
There's also, when y'all brought up, you think that they know about the feather tails. Maybe they want the feather tails because when they hatch, don't they put magic back into the ground?
Oh, yeah. And that brings us to what Violet ends up offering.
Yes. She brought the eggshell from Andarna's egg to offer to Narelle, only she didn't actually need to offer anything. It was just her mind she was supposed to bring.
Yeah.
So she ends up offering it to Cortland here as a way to keep him from keeping Halden. Fuck Halden. He cost Andarna her shell.
They should have kept the shell.
I was shocked that she offered that because I would think that would be so valuable, especially because Andarna is the only one of her kind that we're aware of. I was shocked.
I was pissed.
I feel like, I was like, I don't know, maybe she still has parts of the shell. Maybe. That's all I could possibly think of. But Andarna gave it the green light.
I would think that it was only a portion. I would hope.
Yeah.
Especially since she does feel a hum from it. So,
yes,
when Taryn is reciting his lineage one of the times, which we will talk about more next section, but he says, yes, I'm in pain. Well, sort of, but I'm not going to tell you about it because I'm annoyed and it's frustrating, but it's nothing. But Andarna seems to have no trouble.
Oh.
She hasn't mentioned it. Yeah.
And
I didn't
so
catch that.
If they've lost all their magic, you would assume that he was like, you've seen one dragon shell, you've seen them all, because they lose their magic on this isle.
Right.
But hers has a hum to it. So it makes you think that it still has magic.
Yep. I feel really proud of myself for even considering the eggshells way back at the beginning, because I was like, wait a minute, that's important. And then we get to this and I'm like, okay, they are kind of important. I feel good about myself. But I think we also have to remember they are metal. And if the alloy held magic in Deverelli, then that eggshell that is metal could be holding magic. So, and Cortland seems to know its value, which really concerns me a little bit, because why does he know? What does he know?
Although with the alloy, you do have to consider, does it hold any magic or is it just Violet's? Because
I don't know.
Violet's the only one who can communicate with her dragons. Is her magic different? Is it Andarna?
If that's the case, I was about to say, if that's the case, then I would think Andarna's would be similar.
So there is this weird epigraph for chapter 26. I'm going to read it.
Okay.
It's, in the first 24 hours of removal from source magic, the subject and ASIM presented as even-tempered, but withdrawal quickly revealed the subject's true nature, requiring the subject immediately transferred to stage 2 of the study. Her results can be found within the group 33B under the category Death by Fire, and subsequently under 46C under the category Death by Poison, a study in the anatomy of the enemy by Captain Dominic, can't pronounce that. Parishal?
Actually, I read that as well. That was weird. So did she die twice?
Well, we know that ASIMs and up cannot be killed by dragon fire, so I would assume that by regular fire as well. And that only initiates bleed, according to Jack, which I'm assuming means that they can only be killed by normal means and until they're ASIMs. But
So we'll know if Zayden still bleeds that he's not an ASIM.
yes.
We'll know.
But can they be killed by death by poison then? They didn't move her to another. And is it just ASIMs and initiates that can, if they can be killed by poison? Is it just ASIMs and initiates, or can the sages and mavens? And who are our poison masters?
Brennan
And Violet.
and Violet. Yeah.
Poison's kind of been a kind of theme from the very beginning, so it makes you think, is this how they're going to cure the venom, or how they're going to kill the venom?
Maybe they could use a poison to kill the bad portions and then revive them. Get just to the brink of death and then come back. I don't know. It's interesting.
Also, who the hell is who's doing these experiments? Who's writing this book?
Yeah. They had to have some really up close interactions with Venom.
Yeah. Which brings up the moths that they put in those little glasses, and they're eating honeycomb to make light.
Which are poisonous.
And they're poisonous, and I believe that is the epigraph on top of this chapter that they're introduced. So...
Poor little moths. Aren't they locked into the little thing?
By the way, when I was first reading your notes, Christy, I thought when you were making fun of the naming, I thought you were talking about the Falerinia moths, not Shira, Shora, Shada. And I was like, I think Falerinia is actually pretty interesting for the moth name.
It is. It's really pretty. No, that was for the other. But yeah, I feel bad for them. Like they're just stuck in there. Well, Jackass King.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. I like cool bugs.
Yep.
Poor moths.
I felt like she should have broken as she walked by each one of them.
Oh.
Well, doesn't Taryn roar at the guard, and it says that he breaks something? So maybe it was.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I think he does.
Maybe Taryn released them.
But
he's an animal activist. He's a bug activist.
Yeah.
Just not for sheep and goat.
But Andarna's not, because she really wanted to eat one of those horses.
Yeah. She's a little wild.
But yeah, no, Andarna wants to eat everything. She does.
Yeah, yes. She does. Can't blame her. She's a growing girl.
Yeah. But she did not eat the little panther.
She didn't. She even held it between her lips.
So delicately, and did not slobber on her at all.
Tried her best not to slobber.
And I love when Violet's like, my little one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cute.
But it does make me wonder, because Rebecca Yarros said that the epigraphs are important. And while they usually point to one thing in the chapter, that they have some
relevance.
There
you go.
To something that's going on in the chapter, they also have a double meaning. And I'm pretty sure that the only poisonous thing mentioned in this chapter
are the moths. Yeah. I noted when she said they were poisonous. I was like, why else would she be mentioning this?
Yeah. And fuck you, Halden, for blaming Zayden.
Yeah.
He's like, way to ruin the negotiations. Oh, it wasn't your little temper tantrum about fuck your isle that ruined the negotiations? It wasn't?
Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Piece of shit.
Thankfully, though, Violet does manage to bring it all together, and they leave the Isle of Deverelli with what they wanted, which was a place to stay while visiting the Isles. Halden is banned from the Isles altogether. And they can continue their search.
He was like, he can't come back. And she was like, done.
And he was like, Violet, no!
She was like, done.
I love that he lets her talk to him however he wants. But later, he'll tell Xaden, like, you can't talk to me like that. But that's
That's so funny.
it is.
Ugh.
I think he does like when a woman tells him what to do.
Gotta be honest. Yeah, I mean, he was fucking his professor, as Narelle said.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Pretty gross.
Not to go back to that, but to go back to that, I loved that Dane was like, why didn't you tell me? And she was like, what were you going to do? Punch out the crown prince? And Xaden was like, yeah, still might.
He's like, yeah, it's on the table.
It's considerate. It's in the consideration. Yes. I love that Dane and Xaden are both like, no, that's not acceptable. We will still take retribution for this.
The fangirl in me was living. Yeah, even with Dane and Xaden. I was like, yes.
All right. So some of my favorite scenes in this was the scene with Narelle mistaking him for Dane, mistaking Xaden for Dane, and just the interactions, the tub scene. So great. And we did spend an entire hour talking about Deverelli.
Yes, we did. We spent lots of time.
Oh, last thing I'm going to say is that there is a couple of quotes that I was like, I'm going to note these, where when they called them Firebringers and Riddick was like rude and Kat was like, and wrong. Some of us just want to fuck with your feelings.
I'm liking her more and more.
I am too. And then there was Xaden saying, I want you from the second I wake up until the moment I fall asleep. I dream about you. And I'm never giving you up. You know that, right? You had your chance to run. You should have run, Vi.
I felt that. So, it felt so ominous, but I'm living for it. Yes, threaten me.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Yes.
If you've ever read a dark romance, you get it.
Yeah.
You get it. Meanwhile, Chrissy's like, what is wrong with you?
I think I lived the dark romances a little too many times.
Apologies.
Yeah,
apologies.
I was actually just talking to my sibling about this, where I was like, it's funny because if Xaden were to exist and he were, or not even Xaden, but just some of the book boyfriends were to say some of the things that they say to their FMCs, to me, in real life, I'd be like, fuck you. But
I'd be like, okay, dude.
In book world, I'm like,
yeah. I get it. That's what makes us love these. They're fiction, obviously. We can't, fiction is fun. If this were reality, we'd be way more concerned.
Yeah. Well, because fiction, you know their intentions. Like, we can read their intentions. We know they're good people.
Right. Yeah.
There's that meme out there that's like, what's a red flag what's a thing you love in books, but it's a red flag in real life? Men.
Yeah. Genuinely.
Except for our babies. So.
I don't have a baby, but yes.
The few.
Except for your babies.
Yes. We got the last good ones.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm sure there are plenty out there.
We'll see.
All right. Should I go ahead and end it here?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this week we wanted to give a special shout out to a couple of people who have really made us smile. So
we want to thank the YouTuber Don't Make Me Plush for some of your comments and being a faithful listener on YouTube for us.
Yes, we really appreciate you.
Yes.
And also a shout out to Anaya for supporting us on Patreon. We really appreciate you.
Yes. And lastly, we want to do a special shout out to Rachel for always supporting the podcast from day one.
Yes.
And also for listening to my bullshit all the time. Yes.
We love you, Rachel.
We love you, Rachel.
Except for supporting.
Who's listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for supporting Brittany on the parapet thing. That is up for
we especially love you for that.
But we really appreciate all of our listeners and especially people who comment. We want to hear from everybody.
Yes,
And
very much so.
Yes.
We live
wanna
for
hear everyone's thoughts. So we hope that you guys will join us for next week's episode. We'll be discussing chapters 28 through 33. New episodes drop each week, and don't forget to check out last season's discussion on the Zodiac Academy series, available now.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media. That like and follow are super important for us to continue to bring you new episodes each week. So please, please, please do so. You can also support us by joining us on Patreon. Thank you for listening to the Midnight Readers podcast. We'll see you next week.
Happy reading, listeners. Don't stay up too late.